You know, I see we were talking about the trans issue before, and the New York Times really has come over on that to the sort of the sensible, liberal, not crazy woke position. I think this is a great first step toward getting the Democrats back to sanity, and a second good step would be, we got to do something about The View.
Bill Maher just took his gloves off and turned on Whoopi Goldberg, tearing her entire act apart on national television without raising his voice once. Just facts, just receipts. But before we go any further, if you enjoy sharp commentary videos with full breakdowns, take 2 seconds to subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get back into it.
You know, I see we were talking about the trans issue before, and the New York Times really has come over on that to the sort of the sensible, liberal, not crazy woke position. I think this is a great first step toward getting the Democrats back to sanity, and a second good step would be, we got to do something about The View. I really believe that. I mean, could you just arrest?
It's huge in Iran, though.
Bill, you know, when I
mentioned The View in Iran, all with the same head cover. You can't even tell which one is which.
My district in the great state of Texas is actually a white majority district that President Trump would have won by 25 points. As I said, I'm a direct descendant of a slave. My great-great-grandfather was born on a Rosedale plantation. I am literally being judged not by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character. That's the progress, because, like, a lot of white people had to vote for me. A lot.
A lifelong liberal saying his own party needs to do something about The View. And critics are calling this the moment the daytime television bubble finally cracked. Because Maher is not exaggerating. The show he called out has become the single loudest voice in modern liberal media. And according to a recent Rasmussen poll, only 27% of Americans view The View favorably, while its influence keeps quietly dragging down the Democratic brand every single week.
I'm sorry, but where the Iranian regime is today in 2025 is nothing compared to the United States.
Hanging black people.
It is not even the same. I couldn't step foot wearing this outfit.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit into Iran.
Listen, I'm sorry.
Listen, I can't have my hair showing. I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
I'm telling you, that's why I am saying that it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good, whoever does it.
Very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Do not anyone at the table.
Let me tell you about being in this country. This is the greatest country in the world. But, yeah, I know that. But every day, we are worried. Do we have to be worried about our kids? Are our kids going to get shot because they're running through somebody's neighborhood? They are not big deals, and I don't mean to say they're not big deals to you, because that's not what I meant.
And they are not doing well there either. They are not doing well in Iran. They are not educated. They cannot property. They cannot leave things. Nobody wants to diminish the very real problems we have in this country. That is no one's intent. But I think it's important we remember there are places much darker than this country, and people who deserve rights.
Not everybody feels that way. Not everybody feels that way. When you think about the fact that we got the vote in 1965.
Okay, they don't have free and fair elections in Iran. It's not even the same universe. They can't go out of their house. The women.
You know what? There's no way I can make you understand.
Whoopi just said out loud on live television that living in America in 2025 is the same as living in Iran if you happen to be from a minority community. Some critics say that lines should never have been spoken on daytime television because the co-host pushing back was citing real facts. Iran's morality police have arrested more than 30,000 women since 2022 simply for not wearing a hijab. The same regime made global headlines when Mahsa Amini lost her life in 2022 for nothing more than not covering her hair. And meanwhile, a multimillionaire host of an ABC talk show, sitting in designer clothes with her hair uncovered, making $8 million a year, looked her co-host in the eye and said her life is the same as theirs. This is what happens when you have not had a real perspective check in 20 years of television.
The Republic just ran a story about the vulnerable minorities who want to flee America, including the author, a man trapped in the dystopian homophobic hellscape that is New York City. I wonder if he knows that there are 66 countries where just being is a crime. Cute story in the news last month. Burundi's president called on his citizens to stone people, and not in the good way. Wow, suddenly the don't say law doesn't sound all that bad. And Uganda? Oh, they don't just give you a ticket for parking in the rear. You can get the death penalty for it.
66 countries where being who you are is a crime, where the punishment is not a lawsuit, it is the loss of your life. And this is exactly the perspective the daytime liberal class has completely abandoned. Whoopi complains about America from a Manhattan studio, while real people in Uganda, Burundi, Iran, and Saudi Arabia would surrender everything just to trade places with her. In Maher's view, when the loudest voices on liberal television spend their days convincing Americans that this country is worse than the actual worst countries on earth, they are not helping anyone. They are just performing pain for ratings.
I have to say, you know, I watched what's happened in America over the last 8 years. Yeah, he did win 4 years ago. And from that time also came all of the jokes about he's not American, he's not this, he's not that. And, you know, hearing people make sort of the kind of off-center racist joke that isn't, you know.
About his children,
or someone who said, and then I'm not going to say who it was, but it was somebody sort of high up who said, you know, to think of it, this is a guy that would have been parking my car. And I looked at him.
Who said that?
I'm not telling you who said it.
All right. Tell me later.
But
Tell me later.
No, because the point is not who said it. The point is that it was said.
Yeah.
You know, and from, you know, accusing him of looking like Curious George, all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so suddenly when you hear all of this and you hear all the obstructionist stuff.
Obstruction. The birther conspiracy. Whoopi just pulled out the entire grievance file live on national television. Critics say this is the exact pattern that keeps working class voters walking away from the party in waves. Real racism deserves to be called out, but 24/7 grievance broadcasting is not activism, it is a business model. And nobody in daytime television has made more money from that model than Whoopi Goldberg herself, according to public filings. She has reportedly earned over $130 million from The View since 2007. The country that supposedly hates her wrote every single one of those checks. And then Maher exposes the biggest fault line inside the modern left.
Because the basic problem we have in America is conservatives think the liberals are insane, and they're not completely wrong. Now, I don't think most liberals are insane, but neither do they make it clear they disapprove of the ones who are, and their cowardice in not marginalizing their own crazies has been their downfall. I couldn't get Neil deGrasse Tyson, a genius scientist and preeminent scientific voice in the media, to agree that it was ridiculous for Scientific American and The Atlantic to be claiming that separating sports by doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. Actually, it makes perfect sense. And it's obvious that it does. And there's a lot of stuff like that on the left. And when conservatives see it, they say, I'm sorry, we're just not going to go along with reinventing society.
This is Maher's entire thesis, distilled into one clip. The problem with the modern left is not that most liberals are extreme, it is that the sensible ones refuse to call out the extreme ones. Critics say this is exactly why Democrats have collapsed to just 28% favorability nationally, the worst rating in over 30 years. Because when Whoopi says something impossible to defend, nobody at that table pushes back hard enough. When The View promotes ideas that normal families laugh at, the party pays the price at the ballot box. In Maher's view, cowardice inside the party is the party's single greatest weakness.
I think because we have gone backwards a good 10, 15 years, we're having to re-educate people. Mm-hmm. We're having to re-educate people about how women want to be talked about, how black people want to be talked about, how Hispanic people want to be talked about. And yeah, it's a little bit tough. Native Americans, the Asian folks. I mean, these are all things that I thought we all worked together and got everybody to the point where here's what you can't say. And just so you know, Bill, the Lift Every Voice has always been considered the Black national anthem. Mm-hmm. It's always been that because the separation of the anthems has been so clear to us. Now, maybe other people don't feel like that, but I feel like, you know, we have to re-educate and retell people. We don't think rape humor is funny. We don't think, you know, talk about Native Americans in a really despicable way. It's funny. It's not funny. And we have to re-educate.
Whoopi actually used the word educate, live on television, multiple times. Some critics say this is the moment every American parent watching quietly said the exact same thing to themselves. Nobody wants a Manhattan television host telling the entire country how to think, talk, or speak. This is the precise instinct that has been quietly destroying modern progressive politics. Not persuade, not convince, re-educate. As if 340 million Americans are children who need to be corrected by a daytime television panel.
The program The View last week devoted a lot of time to this while somehow avoiding what I actually said. It seemed to be a lot about a need to school me on the black national anthem itself. Whoopi Goldberg said we need two anthems because, quote, we're having to re-educate people. Because nothing ever goes wrong when you start talking about re-education. Just ask Chairman Mao. Maybe we can set up some sort of camps. Now,
Maher then dropped the comparison to German re-education camps live on his own HBO stage, and critics believe this was the single sharpest line he has ever delivered at Whoopi Goldberg, and it lands because history backs it up completely. History is full of people who use the word re-education, and none of them ended up on the right side of it. In Maher's view, the moment a talk show host starts speaking like a re-education officer, the entire liberal brand is in serious trouble. And then comes the clip where Whoopi keeps digging her own hole deeper in real time.
Well, you wouldn't be obstruction. You wouldn't be doing this to somebody else. Why are you doing this?
Well, the whole birthday thing was based on his race.
You have to, and you don't have to understand it. You don't have to get it. But people of color know what this means. We know. Because it's part of the underlying conversation. Because it's been part of our conversation for 8 years. Because no president has ever had to deal with this. None. So there is a lot of that. And whether you agree with it or not, as a black person and a person of color and a person who's been paying attention to this, it does have something.
More grievance, more labeling, more sorting the country into boxes organized by skin color. Critics say this is the exact identity trap that has been costing the Democratic Party the working class vote for a decade. In Maher's view, most Americans want to move past this, not double down on it, and the numbers support him. According to the American Enterprise Institute, more voters from minority communities identified as proud Americans than white progressives did in 2024. The country Whoopi keeps describing does not match the country most people are actually living in.
but I am what you might call an old school liberal who was brought up with the crazy idea that segregating by race is bad. That's what I was talking about. And again, when it comes to an anthem, it doesn't have to be the one we currently use, but it has to be just one. You know, because it's a national anthem. And symbols of unity matter. And purposefully fragmenting things by race reinforces a terrible message that we are two nations hopelessly drifting apart from each other. That's not where we were even 10 years ago, and it's not where we should be now. Where we should be now is here.
There is not a black America and a white America and Latino America and Asian America. There's the United States of America.
There's not a black America and a white America and a Latino America and an Asian America. There is the United States of America. That sentence right there used to be the entire heartbeat of the civil rights movement. One nation, one flag, one anthem. To Maher, the modern left has quietly abandoned that idea entirely and replaced it with a system of separate rooms, separate categories, and separate anthems.
So I don't even ever want to hear Whoopi Goldberg's conversation about how it's worse to be black in America right now. That's a bit far. And my father, who's 75 years old, he was a man that was in the French quarters that had to go get a sandwich to the back door of the building. And his son is now a United States congressman in a white majority district in Texas as a Republican. That is America. That's America. So let's celebrate that.
Yes. And one of the ways we celebrate it is Juneteenth. It's a Texas holiday. It began in Texas and Galveston.
A congressman from a majority white Texas district, the direct descendant of an enslaved American, telling Whoopi Goldberg that enough is enough. And this is the exact story the modern left refuses to tell because it proves everything Whoopi keeps denying. To Maher, this is what real progress actually looks like. And it is happening every single day, while daytime television pretends the country needs two anthems.
Oh yeah, that guy. Timothy Askew, a professor at Clark Atlanta University, wrote an entire book about Lift Every Voice and Sing. And he said, to sing the black national anthem suggests that black people are separatist and want to have their own nation. This means that everything Martin Luther King Jr. believed about being one nation gets thrown out the window. Thanks, Professor. You'll be hearing from Whoopi. But he's right. If we have two anthems, why not 3 or 5? Why not a woman's anthem, a Latino anthem, a trans, indigenous peoples, and Asian Pacific Islander anthem? Because I'm not dealing with you, I'm not speaking to you, is not a way you can run a country. And most people of all backgrounds understand that already and don't even want to try to do it that way. I'm not out of step. Believing in separate but equal, that's out of step. By 67 years.
Then 3, then 5, then 20. Because once you start dividing the country by category, you never stop. And Maher's argument here is the cleanest defense of American unity anyone has made in years. If you split the anthem, you split the country. In Maher's view, the modern left has spent 15 years constructing a system where every group has its own history, its own flag, its own grievance, and its own set of rules. And no country in world history has ever survived that model for long. And then Maher hits the exact reason liberals keep losing elections.
If you run for office in America, you have to want to live here. I bring this up because there was a video that made the rounds recently by a woman who said she was a proud progressive and was running for state representative in New Hampshire, and yet posted this.
Is there a place we can move that people would be happy to have us, that we're not gentrifying or colonizing? I don't want to be a problem, but I need to get out of this country.
Out of this country. The one you want to be elected to a leadership position in? What was your campaign slogan? America, a shining on a hill? Jesus. Even prostitutes have to pretend they like what they do.
Real progressive running for real office, openly saying she wants to get out of the country she is running to represent. Critics say this is the personality type the modern left keeps producing. People who feel trapped in America, people who treat public service like a chore they are being forced to do. That right there is exactly why the party keeps bleeding voters. If you cannot even pretend to love the country you want to lead, why would any voter trust you to protect it?
Well, as it's kind of late in the fourth quarter for America and we're behind by 3 touchdowns, let's make one last stab at a grand bargain between the two sides that hate each other so much. America used to do this all the time, make bargains, and I've suggested many myself, like you stop saying fetuses are the same as babies, and we'll stop saying trans women are the same as biological women. You stop saying alternative facts, and we'll stop saying my truth. You stop saying thoughts and prayers, and we'll stop with the land acknowledgement. You admit there's no such thing as voter fraud, and we'll admit that getting a picture ID isn't really that hard to do. Stuff like that. But as it is so late in the game, let's just go right to the granddaddy of bargains now. The left will seriously quash all their loony woke and the right will stop the slide into autocracy. That's really the only card left to play.
The left drops the cultural insanity, and in exchange, the country gets a real second party again. And this is the most honest political proposal any liberal has made in a decade. Because Maher is not asking his own side to abandon its values, he is asking them to abandon the extremes that keep costing them elections. In Maher's view, until the left finally quiets down the loudest voices in their own tent, they will keep losing every American with a job, a family, and a mortgage.
50 years ago, liberals didn't concede patriotism. Abbie Hoffman was the quintessential 60s radical, and when he had to appear before the House Un-American Activities Committee, he wore an American flag shirt, which some cops later ripped off his back. Because the message that most threatens authoritarians isn't America sucks, it's America is ours too. Every election year, Democrats seem to remember patriotism for about an hour at their convention when they're trying to win back swing voters. The whole message of Kamala's speech in 2024 was take back the flag. That's why she talked about America like a pageant contestant.
The greatest privilege on earth. The privilege and pride of being an American.
Hard to believe she lost, huh? Well, you can't take back the flag in an hour if the rest of the time you treat patriotism as something vaguely
hard to believe she lost. And critics say that sentence defined the entire 2024 election. You cannot fake patriotism for 1 hour every 4 years and expect the country to buy it. To Maher, voters can see the act. They watch the eye rolls, they notice the lectures, they remember the mockery. And no last-minute flag pin can undo years of contempt.
There's kind of a stink on it because you know who is president right now, so the left half of the country fears he'll make the anniversary about him. Of course he will! I even bet that on Kalshi. The question is whether we all will help him do it. We shouldn't. This is about America. He isn't America. He's the temporary caretaker of America. America's employee. And the message should be that America isn't actually his, and that no one side gets to own being psyched about the country. So I'm not down with this attitude of, well, we're having a party, but if Trump's going, I'm not. That's so high school. Go to the party. It's a big celebration. You probably won't run into him. This country's 3.8 million square miles, and that's without Greenland. Look.
He is not America. He is the temporary caretaker of America. And critics say that is the sentence every American needs to hear far more often. Whoopi Goldberg and the modern left have spent so much time hating one man that they forgot to love the country he temporarily works for. To Maher, this is the entire problem with modern liberal television. Every conversation gets reduced to one enemy, and every celebration gets ruined by one grudge. Bill Maher just told his own side to grow up, and Whoopi Goldberg keeps proving exactly why he had to say it. Wesley Hunt spoke the truth every American parent already knows. The View has become the daily case study for why Democrats keep losing. And unless something changes fast, the country is going to keep tuning them out. Now, I want to hear from you. Is Bill Maher right that The View has become a political liability for Democrats? Should Whoopi Goldberg finally step down after so many indefensible statements? And is the country better off ignoring daytime television entirely? Drop your answer in the comments, hit that like if Maher said what needed to be said, and subscribe because what is coming next will genuinely surprise you.